Hey, it's Jordan with TYT. We're outside the state capitol here in Columbia. I'm here with Roy and his son Sean. I see you voted today. Who'd you vote for?
Dr. Carson.
Okay. He obviously has been behind. What about Dr. Carson stood out to you?
I like his views on limited government. Extremely limited government would be my view of what I would like. I like the being from South Carolina, I would like the states to be autonomous, with the federal government only providing common defense and helping with commerce between the states, interstate commerce.
Does some of the comments he's made concern you? He got in trouble a few months back by saying I don't think a Muslim should be president. Those kinds of things.
I don't think a Muslim should be president either, but not because he's a Muslim. I believe it's kind of the. I don't know. No, I'm not troubled by them. I somewhat agree with them. I don't know that if I would state them in public.
On that, you said you don't know if a Muslim should be president. What's your concern about that?
Well, I mean, if we look at how Muslims treat half of the population, I would be concerned with somebody who was okay doing that running the country.
You're talking about Sharia law overseas?
Well, yes, overseas, but it's the treatment of women in the United States and the Muslim community is better, but not what we would hold as American values, I don't think.
What specifically? What kind of treatment?
Just the separation during religious times, and the needing to get permission for everything that you do. It's not something we do a lot in the United States.
With Carson, there's been this whole thing about outsiders versus insiders in the Republican establishment. Carson, I mean, very different than Donald Trump, who we'll get to, but he's an outsider. He has no real experience. He's a neurosurgeon, so you're talking about national defense. He's been criticized for foreign policy naivete. What about Carson? Do you think his outsider credentials are a weakness or a vulnerability in terms of, all right, this guy, I'd love him to operate on my brain, but I don't know about the nuclear codes?
Well, being a politician is a craft, I think. It's a craft that he hasn't learned yet, but I mean, if he can learn neurosurgery, I think he can learn to deal with the United States Congress.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an engineer. I do energy conservation projects for federal government agencies. I don't work for the government. I am a contractor to the government.
And my understanding is you're active in your church?
I am. I'm a deacon in my church. Been going to the same church since shortly after we got to the country, and so that would be like 1965.
What are your thoughts on the current Republican frontrunner getting into a battle with Pope Francis?
Well, I like the outspokenness of Donald Trump. I don't think it's a good attribute for a presidential candidate, and I do think that he was justified in, I don't know if you say striking back, in speaking out about the Pope's questioning his Christianity.
You're not a fan of Donald Trump, is my understanding, and you'd go so far to say for the first time in your life you'd vote for a Democrat, even Bernie Sanders, if Donald Trump was the nominee.
My aversion to Trump is that he's too brash. I don't think he could, as I just stated earlier with Dr. Carson, I don't think he could assimilate himself to politics. I think he's going to try to work outside of the system, and I truly believe that if he were president for 4 years, there's no way he could be president for 4 years and not get us into a war with one nation or another, probably the Soviet Union.
But do you think there's anything to the argument that what the stuff he's saying now is really more to throw red meat to the conservative base, and when he gets in, he's a businessman, he's going to recalibrate? I don't particularly buy it, but a lot of people say, he's just campaigning and yada yada yada, but he won't be he even said I would tone it down if I became president.
I don't think he can. I think that's the way he runs his business, and he thinks he can run a country that way. Like I said, he's undiplomatic, and I think that's going to hurt him if he does win. God help us all.
All right, so you're saying he's brash and would put us into war, but to go as far to say I would even vote for Bernie Sanders, you started by saying I'm a ultra-limited government, strong national defense. Bernie Sanders, who's I would say the opposite, and that's a pretty stark departure.
Well, and I've said this a lot of times. The primary is the only time I ever get to vote for somebody I like. When I get to the general election, I'm voting for somebody who scares me less. So Bernie Sanders scares me less because even though he stands for just about everything I don't stand for, he's going to work within the government. And if we can maintain control, Republican control of the Senate and the House, he won't get anything accomplished, and I'm okay with that.
So you're okay with gridlock the way it's been going?
I am okay with gridlock. Like I said, I'm for a very limited government, so the government not getting anything done is fine with me.
You said you'd vote for Bernie. Would you vote for Hillary if it was Hillary versus Trump?
No. My part of my background is military intelligence, and I would come right out right now and say that if Hillary was not a Clinton, she'd be in jail right now.
Are you talking about the emails?
I'm talking about the emails. I'm talking about having your own personal email server in your closet in New York or wherever the heck she had it. It just breaks every rule of being a Secretary of State.
So would Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice be in jail too? It just came out recently that they use private email.
I would say yes.
At least you're fair.
Yeah, I mean, I know what the rules and regulations are about maintaining security, and what she did would have anybody else in jail, apparently, other than Colin Powell, and I hadn't heard that.
On Donald Trump, you said brash. Do you think he's spewing hatred?
Yeah, I think it's really beyond brash. I was, I guess, trying to be polite when I said brash. I mean,
You're from South Carolina.
he's rude. He's like I said, he's anything but a politician, which apparently is his draw. Anything but a politician.
Well, the question is then, if you're a lifelong Republican, is there even a Republican Party? Because they love it. I mean, the majority are eating this up, and the pundits have been saying for months, "Oh, it'll go away, it'll go away." He's got momentum going. So, is there an establishment conservative party left?
No, I don't really think there are. I mean, just the fact that we put up Senator McCain, who, in my opinion, is nowhere near a Republican, tells me that the Republican Party that I knew when I was young doesn't exist anymore, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's an alternative at this point.
Who's your Republican in history?
I like Reagan. That's a tough question.
Reagan really wasn't limited government. He blew up the debt. He raised taxes. Nobody likes to talk about that.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it. If put on the spot, I actually like Jimmy Carter a lot.
Can we restate that? You're a very limited government.
At that time, I wasn't voting at that time. But
what'd you like about Carter?
Carter was a smart man. He was an engineer. I'm in energy. If we'd have followed Jimmy Carter's energy policies, we wouldn't be fighting for lands with oil.
Do you think that with Trump, putting aside the talk, the brashness, one thing that kind of astounds me sometimes is you'll interview a Trump supporter and you'll ask them, well, how specifically is he going to bring back jobs? Or how specifically is he going to...
How are you going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it?
You're a smart man. Do you think he's selling hot air to people who essentially are just there for the show?
Well, yeah, but selling hot air works. We want change. What does that change? I don't know what that change is. We just want change. And I'm like, so he says, hey, I'm going to do these outrageous things. And everybody goes, well, that's a great idea. We should do these outrageous things. But can he actually do these outrageous things? I don't think so.
So Bernie Sanders is the opposite of what you believe in. But on the issues, if you poll the majority of Americans, should you raise taxes on the wealthy, single payer? These are popular initiatives poll-wise. So do you think the country is shifting leftward? Obama won the last 2 years, and Republicans have lost 5 out of the 6 last elections in the popular vote.
I believe we are shifting left, much to my dismay.